Good morning, EasyEquities community, and thanks very much for joining us on this rather late planned webinar, but we really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm sure that you can enjoy what our CEO, Charles Savage, has got to say. The EasyEquities community is now nearly 500,000 people strong, but we still have values driven and led by example by Charles, our CEO and founder, which is that we must remain accessible to our users and that we need to be transparent in all that we do. And we are very proud of those principles. We don't shy away from them. We're not scared about them. And we are delighted to be able to engage with all our users. Charles is not hosting this webinar under duress. It's quite the opposite, in fact. He was chomping at the bit to already do one yesterday because he is very keen to engage with the users. We're recording this webinar and we'll be publishing it on our social media platforms. Charles is going to address not only securities lending and our communication from yesterday and our poor implementation, for which we've apologized and we will apologize again, but he's also going to touch on a number of other EasyEquities data points, and we welcome your engagement. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Charles, who doesn't need any introduction. He's been with EasyEquities since the start, since he invented it, we look forward to what you're going to share, Charles. But as we kick off, let's talk about securities lending. What happened yesterday? What was supposed to happen? And what are the plans going forward?
How's it, Carel? And how's it, everyone? Firstly, I'm going to start with two apologies. The first one is I don't have any water, so I'm sitting here just out of my pajamas and probably too unshaven. And the second one is for yesterday, which, as you've noted, it didn't go as planned. And I'm afraid that's the story of a disruptive startup. You know, not everything goes as planned, and that's, you know, you learn, you pivot, you come back even stronger. And so let's talk about securities lending a little. You know, we've been incredibly excited about securities lending for a long time now. It's been one of the hardest things to pull off because it's never been done before for mass retail, and it was a big deal for us. I mean, Gary, our CFO, has been working on it with our lawyer, Sasha, and they've put in an incredible amount of work. We've had to negotiate with partners to get the best outcomes and deals to make sure the risk reward is well balanced in it. And the reason we're so excited is that for us, the only certainty in investing is that you can get from returns is to reduce your costs. And what we saw securities lending is as a way for people to automatically reduce their costs without commensurately increasing their risk. And so we'd done a lot of work around ensuring that that risk was mitigated and that the best possible return could be achieved for our customers. In partnership with a provider, Clear is the provider on the securities lending, in partnership with EasyEquities, the platform enabling all of this, and then the client whose securities we were lending. And I guess you know, so it was those sort of excitement and those intentions to get it into the platform that potentially we just rushed the message. And I guess we forgot to a large extent that there's a lot of complexity in financial markets that if you don't unpack easily for your customers, then you lose the purpose of what those products are meant to do. And I've seen that a lot in financial services in my life. It's actually the inspiration that we had around building EasyEquities. You know, the name gives it away. Is tear down the complexity, make it easy for people to understand, give them the right choice of products, and then let them choose for themselves. And in the securities lending launch, we broke our own rules. You know, we didn't make it easy enough to understand. We've got to keep looking through the same lens as we did 5 years ago. We've got to remember that most of our customers are arriving today, and we've got to make sure that the product remains true to being easy. So we got that wrong, and that's why we'll take it back to the drawing board. The other thing we got wrong is that in the implementation, the communication didn't give the customer the choice it felt to them. I mean, we thought it was the default choice because who doesn't want to earn extra income? And so we made the default option opted in. And, you know, we got whipped up properly, and rightly so. You know, we opted everyone in because we thought that's what everyone wanted. And it's not our job to do that. It's not our job to tell everyone what they want. Our job is to present the products easily and give our customers choice, and we made those two mistakes. And so that's why I pulled the product. And we've only pulled it, for a period of time so that we can fix those things. We still, believe strongly that securities lending is a strong option for customers who want to uplift their returns, but it must be their choice to do it. And importantly, just to give you some context on securities lending, all of your pension fund money sits in funds that use securities lending to enhance your returns as a pension fund. All the large accounts in stockbroking, all the big wealthy accounts, all use securities lending. Anywhere you go in the world, it's common practice for securities lending to be utilized to do two things. One is uplift returns, but two, it creates liquidity for the marketplace. If you think about it, for an efficient marketplace, there have to be buyers and sellers. And in order to create that efficient marketplace, securities lending plays an incredibly valuable role, because there's only going to be the opportunity to buy shares if somebody else is willing to sell them. And so it's a key component and fabric of the financial system, one that we feel our customers can earn good income from, and has been done in a responsible and risk-adjusted way. And we just didn't communicate that properly. So what we're going to do is spend quite a lot of time learning from this. And I know, Carel, you're part of the team that's going to, relaunch this. And the truth of the matter is, if our customers don't want it, we won't launch it. And so it'll be up to our customers to decide whether they want it once we've presented it properly. And if they don't, it'll be one of those books we file in the failed cabinet of things we tried, but didn't work. And, that's a cabinet that's getting full of books now. And that's cool. Anyone who's listened to me for the last 6 years now knows that failure is at the center of everything we do. It's if you can't create an environment that is brave enough to fail, then I'm afraid you're never going to succeed. What's important, though, is that when you fail, you learn, and you deeply understand why you failed, and then you take those lessons and make sure you don't repeat them. So this was a wonderful opportunity for the whole organization to learn, and it's been incredible to see the engagement internally about the things that we've got wrong and the amount of learning that's already coming from this. And it's hard to take failure on the chin on social media. I mean, it was a tough day yesterday. I think anybody who was monitoring my Twitter profile would have realized that I was properly beaten up. I take this stuff seriously. People who know me well also know that my Achilles heel is trust. When people don't trust me, I can't engage with them. I can't. With the people I work with, in my family life, and the people I serve as a CEO, my customers, they have to trust me. And when they lose that trust, I lose confidence in my capability. So yes, they beat me up a lot, but reflected on all of that and really looking forward to giving the customers the choice. And if they don't want it, we'll shelve it. And we've got so many exciting things to look forward to. One more book of failure in the bookshelf is just going to set us up much better for the future.
Thanks, Charles. I want to pick up on a couple of comments there before we move on to some of the other features. And the first one I want to pick up on is your point around not being defensive about the feedback that we got. So, I'm rather amused by the trolls on social media who think that this is a negative, that, you're going to resign, we're going to fire somebody handling our social media, that this is end of the world. So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying, and what I'm certainly proud of, is that we own up to our mistakes, we use them to improve, and we welcome and need our clients' input.
Yeah. I mean, Carel, if you think about, what is our strongest form of attack when we compare ourselves to our competitors? And that's, ABSA, Standard Bank, Nedbank, Investec, who am I missing? PSG. These are Signia. They are all incredibly strong competitors. But, what's our weapon of attack over theirs? And ours is 100%. It's speed of execution, and it is responding to our customers' needs and wants and delivering those products faster than anyone else can. And, the commitment to speed, you'll notice cars that drive fast have better braking systems, and we drive really fast. And so we've got to have the best braking systems. But we've built this business to fail. We've built this business to go faster, and you can't fire people when they make mistakes. Can you imagine the impact of a culture that every time somebody fails, we fire them. I mean, I wouldn't be CEO of the business today. I failed so many times I can't count. So, we would never have created EasyEquities. I mean, my biggest failure, 2008, we failed spectacularly openly in front of everyone. And had I been fired for that, we wouldn't have ever created EasyEquities. And that's true of every successful business I've ever seen. I mean, Steve Jobs he was fired from Apple, only to come back and create what Apple is today, and is for my accounts the greatest innovator of all time. Tesla is another great example. I mean, there's a South African worker who's doing some cool stuff. I think the first 3 rockets he tried to put into space all blew up spectacularly. How much resilience in failure did he have to come back or bet it all on the 4th? And I'm told that the 4th wouldn't, if he didn't get the 4th to launch, that would have been it. But if he wasn't given the chance to fail 3 times, we wouldn't have celebrated SpaceX. So, I think that as South Africans, we are afraid of failure. We shy away from it. We don't want to talk about it. And we sort of lock it away in the cupboard and pretend it didn't happen. And I'm afraid that is exactly the wrong approach. We have to engage our failures. We have to transparently unpack them in front of each other, understand them, and then come back stronger because of them. And if we do that across all business, politics, everything in this country, I think we're going to build a fabric that is just much stronger than it is today. And so, as a company, I'm proud of our failure. I really am. I'm proud of the mistakes that we make. Where I get annoyed is if we make the same mistakes twice, and then the 3rd time it's game over for that individual. So you've got to create a landscape where, people are accepting of failure, not scared to try, and then learn from those experiences. And, anyone who works at EasyEquities will know that we don't just talk about it. It's not lip service to failure. Anybody who watches us on social media knows that our platform goes down. We don't, we're not scared of it, and because we're not scared of it, we can move faster than anyone else. And I'm very proud of the team and the way they handle it. It's not easy though. Carel, you've got an academic kind of background in that you're chairman of a school. I don't know how many kids do you celebrate for failing matric? Does our schooling system and education system even teach us to cope with failure? And so I'm not surprised. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm not surprised how that as South Africans we don't handle failure that well. So for me it's a knock on the chin. It was a day of lots of bruises, but incredible learnings, and the overwhelming support and trust that's come back from our customers in dealing with it appropriately, pulling it, has been overwhelming. I mean, it's been emotional. So yeah, we're still here.
I want to interrupt you there a little bit because I want you to talk about the clients. You've spoken about the team. I want you to talk about our clients and our consumers, because some of the criticism we were getting from some established players, and it's easy to call people out on social media but not to engage. Criticism was that our users aren't sophisticated enough, and all kinds of other euphemisms which basically said that EasyEquities users aren't clever enough for financial services products. What is your view on that? Simplistically, EasyEquities users, are they smart? How are they investing?
The dialogue of the past, pre-Easy, was that financial services is too sophisticated. And let's narrow that down. Let's just talk about investing. The dialogue of the past, pre-EasyEquities, was that investing was so complex that no one else could do it except an asset manager. And that as investors, we were too stupid to do it for ourselves. We didn't have enough knowledge. We didn't have enough experience. We didn't have the brain power. And I sat, and I'm not going to name, but when we launched EasyEquities, I sat with the CEO of one of the largest asset managers. And he expressed those exact words to me. He said to me, it is irresponsible to give South Africans the ability to invest the way that you want them to. And I sat there and I said, it's the most extreme arrogance I've ever heard. I mean, today, your everyday South African has got the same access to information, knowledge, as the President of the United States. And he doesn't use his knowledge well, so not a good, a good example. But what is it that an asset manager sitting in an office in Sandton, why has he got more capability to manage his money, your money than you have? And the truth is in the results. I've seen a couple of guys on Twitter asking about our customers' returns. And I'm just waiting for somebody to ask over what period would you like me to do it, and I'll happily do it. But I've looked at our customer returns, and 90% of our customers beat the asset managers. And that means that they essentially capture an index return or index return better. And the simple reason as to why they do that is 60% of their assets are sitting in ETFs, and then 40% are sitting in stocks. And what they're running, and they don't know, they wouldn't probably know this, what you call that kind of approach. It's called a core satellite approach, which is the trend internationally. And our customers haven't been taught about core and satellite. And so they're creating these super smart portfolios that are well diversified, that have got local and international stocks, where they are buying index returns and supplementing those index returns by having high conviction trades, if you like, stocks they've fallen in love with, that are giving them better returns. And so they are super, super smart and savvy. I mean, another good example, we launched EasyProperties 2 or 3 weeks ago now. And there's another wonderful story that's going to emerge out of the EasyEquities group. But, Rupert Finnemore, who's the CEO and longtime friend of mine, and as you know, went to school with me, he said, geez, we've got all these terms and conditions and all this terminology, and it's, our users just, they're not necessarily going to get it. I'm worried that we should do more in understand and unpacking and helping them understand it. And the day we launched, he was just blown away by the questions, the insights, the understanding. And he was like, he almost was apologetic. He was like, geez, this community is so super smart. Like, if I took for granted. And, that is the dialogue of the past, I'm afraid, is that we're too stupid to run our own money. Well, the truth is, there's no one better to run your money than you. And the only thing you need to do, the license you need to run your money, is to engage and educate yourself and be accepting of failure. There isn't a single investor in the world who makes 100% good bets. I mean, Buffett he's famous for some of the big investment mistakes that he made. You only have to be right 60% of the time to run a good portfolio. And if you buy lots of ETFs like our customers do, and supplement with that with some cool stocks that you've fallen in love with, like Tesla, then you're going to do really well. So it's a super, super, super smart community, much smarter than me. I mean, I'm blown away by their understanding of markets, their engagement, the way they collaborate and teach and guide each other. So yeah, anyone who labels them stupid really, should just be stuck in the dark ages.
Charles, I want to wrap up this part of the conversation before we move on, and interrupt me if there's anything you disagree with. So we're proud of our team. We're proud of having a culture where you can fail to succeed. It's not failure for the sake of failure. It's failure to learn and improve. We're committed to reworking securities, lending, script lending, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not going to delve into the detail around that because we're reworking it. So there are questions around percentage, etc. We're going to rework that. And I want to emphasize the point that you made. We're going to engage far more with our clients, asking them, getting their opinion, making sure that what is relaunched is driven by their needs and expectations. And that's going to be spearheaded by you over the next couple of weeks, months. Until you're satisfied that we have remained true to the principles that we started with. Are you 100%. Happy with that? Cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Then I want to continue and ask you about a tweet that you made. I think many of the users actually know this, that you don't sleep. And because you take these things so personally, I know that you didn't sleep last night. I partly know that because you kept me awake until well after midnight and early hours this morning. But you made a tweet that said that EasyEquities clients saved 100 million Rand in fees in June. Now, is that hyperbole, PR? You trying to cover up yesterday? I mean, how do you get that? What do you base that on?
Geez. Carel, I love data. So, when I can't sleep, I end up looking at the data. And, I wanted some context as well. So because I'd been beaten up so badly, personally, I was just looking for some context, and I found it in the data for me. And there was a number that just stood out for me. We did over 1 million trades in June. I mean, I just paused just for a second. I don't know, and I'm going to get the data. I don't know how long it took us to get to our 1,000,000th trade, but it was probably years. In fact, it was definitely years. In June, we did 1 million trades. And what struck me is that when I look at the competitive landscape, is that on average, our competitors charge 100 Rand minimum per transaction. So 1 million trades, 100 Rand a trade, 100 million Rand. is what our competitors would have charged. And we don't charge a minimum of 100 Rand. We charge 65 cents per 100 Rand invested. And that would have meant that if, that our commensurate brokerage was about 5 or 6 million Rand from those transactions. So the number was, net was 94 million Rand, but we did more than 1 million transactions. And it just struck me what a profound impact that could have. And it's not about being low cost. I don't think we've ever marketed low cost. I mean, and maybe when we started, that was the storyline because that was what was seen to be disruptive. Actually, easy is at the center of what our marketing approach is: transparency, trust, and a fair deal. But the impact of saving South Africans 100 million Rand in a month, and fast forward 30 years, and we've been doing that for 30 years every month and growing. At 100, we're growing growth rates. If anyone looks at our financials, you'll see the growth rate's about 100% a year. So this time next year, maybe we're saving South Africans 200 million a month. And then, commensurately, just think about the impact. And this is what struck me, and that's why I tweeted it, and that's why I said, think about that, customers. Think about the impact that's going to have on South Africa over 30 years. I won't be here, sadly. I would have been kicked out long ago, but the team that are behind me will be able to reflect on it. Just think about the wealth creation and the impact that it would have had on the South African economy, on all of those savings. And so for me, I was just trying to find context. It wasn't a brag. It was a big number, and it was something that I'd missed in the data. I hadn't looked at number of trades that closely for a while. I just checked in on it again this morning, and we've done 700,000 trades this month, and we've still got a week, so we'll probably hit 1 million again this month. So we probably would have saved customers another 100 million this month. And I just, it wasn't a brag at all, because for me, it's not about costs. You must get it must be a fair deal. And, EasyEquities is all about ensuring we get our customers the fairest deal we can, but at the same time, provide the easiest experience. So, yeah, that's the reason I tweeted it. It helped me sleep better, gave me context.
I was carrying on that theme and linking to our clients as well. So as I said, we've got nearly 500,000 registered, 300,000 active clients. 5-6 years ago, people said that was impossible because, as you said, people are allegedly too stupid, and yet we're proving them wrong. But when we started EasyEquities, you had an expression around the value of a client. And you used it to explain the point about that the guy who's investing 10 Rand with us has as much value to us as the guy that's investing 10 million Rand to us. Do you think that that's true still today? And what is the makeup of EasyEquities investors?
Yeah, I mean, Carel, what you're referring to is like one of the real strong pieces of DNA that helped us create Easy. And it came out of Uber. Because Uber was the first business, and I'm sorry, just to contextualize, I'm not the kind of guy who likes driving in a taxi. I don't like being in control, firstly. And secondly, the taxi experience wasn't one that overwhelmed me. But when Uber came around, I was a massive convert. I just, carried on, and I still use them today. I think we all do. So, but what was it in Uber that really struck me was Uber was the first company I'd ever seen in the world that placed the customer at the center of its value proposition, and was so serious about it that they gave you the same service regardless of how much you spent. So they were basically saying that the customer is more valuable than his custom. You, the individual, are more valuable to me as Uber than how much you spend with me. And that struck such a chord with me because, frankly, financial services are the biggest discriminator in the world. If you think about the products and services that you're given access to as an investor, the richer you get, the more products and services you get, and the lower the cost of those services. The pyramid is the wrong way around. Our job is to service people who are starting out at their journey, not poor, that's not the terminology I'd use, but people who are starting their journey, who want to engage. And that's where we should be focusing our service delivery. So in Easy, we wanted to create a platform that didn't discriminate against you based on the value of your value, and recognize that our biggest asset, and still today, our biggest asset by far are our people. And there's two groups of people there. In fact, there are three groups of people. There's our team, who are just extraordinary. There are customers who are just extraordinary. And then there are shareholders, and they're also extraordinary. And interestingly, those things are blurring now. Our customers are our shareholders, and our customers become our staff. I mean, how many people have we hired from our own community? I would love to hire them all, but we only have 100 people. So it is central in our DNA. And if you think about it, it's the reason we did securities lending. It's the reserve of the wealthy. So we wanted to democratize access to securities lending, and we just got the message wrong. So it's 100% in our DNA. What does our customer look like? Fascinating. I mean, they're getting younger every year. So when we started EasyEquities, the average age of our customers was 35. So you would think that our customers are getting older because we've been around almost 6 years now. Our customers are 32 now, so they're 3 years younger, which means that there are lots more 20-somethings joining us all the time. And that really is where the magic sits, because your greatest asset in investing is time. And so if we can convert South Africans in their 20s to start investing, I mean, I started in my 30s, then we can create extraordinary outcomes. And so, 32 years old and getting younger by a year every year. So in a couple of years, the average age will be in their 20s. They're 60% male, 40% female, and I'm proud about that, but we're not finished. When we started, it was 85% male, 15% female. And we've put a lot of effort, our brand team, you and the brand team, put a lot of effort in engaging women. Incredible influencers on Twitter that have helped us along the way, that are women. And so that's a cool stat, is that it's 60-40% and getting, probably 50-50, I reckon, within 12 months. The Black South Africans, which is probably the thing that I'm most proud about, is that our customers represent South Africa in age and in every demographic. They are truly South African. And that I don't think another financial services provider in this country can say that. In investments landscape that says their customers reflect the fabric of South Africa in every way in the demographic. And so that's, the magic about EasyEquities isn't in our platform capability. It's 100% in our people, all of those people. And that's why they keep us honest, they keep us attentive, and they keep us actively pursuing new products and services to wow them with, so that they stay engaged and they stay alongside us. So it's certainly people at the center.
I'm going to give you a chance to have some of your coffee, and I want to answer a question, and then I need you to ask me a little bit about it to make sure that I'm not offensive about this. So we've had some questions around our social media handling of securities lending yesterday, and ultimately that is my responsibility, how we handle that. And there was criticism of what some people are terming our official account. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. So there are a number of people that have access to the EasyEquities account, and that is by design and by choice. We don't hire a professional company or outside media strategist to handle our social media. We do that internally. Charles does some of it. My first job at EasyEquities, when we had no followers, was to handle some of the social media. We've got some of our client engagement team who do a superb job. Superb in terms of the speed, but superb also in terms of their knowledge and how they engage with clients. And did we make mistakes yesterday? Absolutely. Are there reasons for it? Sure. Being abused, being trolled, having people with insincere, aggressive intentions attack you and your company that you feel good about. But is that an excuse? No, we can and we should do better. And I own that, and I apologize where we did fall short. And as Charles said,
and I think, Carel, I think just to step in for a second, but I think, social media it's a wonderful tool. And it also is part of our DNA. I mean, one of the big reasons that we are so disruptive is because we're so active and engaged on social media. So the team do a wonderful job. And they're young, they're dynamic, they're diverse, and they make mistakes. I mean, I looked at the accounts at some of the tweets, and they didn't make a lot of mistakes. And if you look at the number of responses they made yesterday, they probably made one or two, and then everyone picked up on those one or two. And you're right, there are no excuses. But I think one of the expectations our clients have got to have of us, they've got to hold us account to everything. That's key, and we're not scared of that. But what I ask in return is that you have to accept that we're going to fail. If you want us to be this fast-moving, agile, fintech disruptor, which everybody wants us to be. We want to be that. Then as a customer of ours, what I'm asking you to do is accept that we're going to fail. Don't hide it. We're not asking you not to challenge us, but sincerely point out our failures. And I think that, the difference between what some of the responses were was the sincerity. The bigger we get, the more insincere responses we're going to get. And those people, if that's what they get out of bed, and sorry, my light is bad here because I'm not sitting in the sun, but the bigger we get, the more insincere responses or attacks we're going to have. And I think our skin is just going to get thicker. And, Carel, you and I, we've got thick skin in this business, but we have high tolerance for this kind of stuff. But at some point, everyone does break. And, all I'm asking from our customers is that when we make a mistake, hold us to account, excuse me, but be sincere and know that we'll trust us to fix it. And I think that's what was missing. There was just a lack of sincerity in some of the attacks yesterday. And I think, one or two responses were offline or out of line. But yeah.
And I think it was interesting. There was some great commentary as well from well-respected financial person like Karen Richardson, who commented, that we should have done a better job, that something that was an opt-out should have been an opt-in, and gave us a strong beating. And I think a lot of that was fair. But she also made the comment that a big chunk of the criticism was being driven from somebody who has a vested interest in terms of making money out of attacking people. And we need to keep that in context. But
and Carel, I think we must focus less on those people. You've coached me on this well. I am a bit of a street fighter when it comes, when people attack my integrity, I fall over and I come back swinging punches. It's just, I'm open.
You're lying a little bit now. It's not that. I think your Achilles here is when people do something to your family and your team. But anyway, let's carry on. Johanna's got a good question in terms of, categorically stating that we're not going to do certain things. And I want to say, Johan, that reiterate what Charles said earlier. Whatever we're going to do, we will make sure that our community have full input into that. And I also want to remind people, when we send out our T's and C's, as we did, we in fact put a summary clearly stating the two things that you need to look at are the Sharia law compliance and securities lending. We're going to do a better job of highlighting those even more in future. And we will make sure that you've got all of that. Quick question from one of our users wanting to know, when is EasyEquities listing and can you invest in us? EasyEquities is owned 30% by Sanlam and 70% by the Purple Group, so you can invest in EasyEquities through that. So Charles, let's carry on talking a little bit about, and then we'll come back to some of the negative stuff, if I can call it that, because I'm worried people thinking that I'm giving you too easy a ride. And it's been interesting for me. I tweeted on my own personal account not long ago that it was a tough day at the office, and I'd had serious arguments with you and others, and I was seriously pissed off, and they were like, how ridiculous, and the team, as if it was a negative. And my tweet had actually been positive. I'm so grateful that I can be who the hell I am and have my team be the hell I am. The brand guys challenge me daily when I'm talking nonsense, and it really is a great privilege to be part of a team. But before we get some of the negative stuff, tell us how Properties is going.
Yeah, geez, what a wonderful response, and kudos to the team behind it. I'm blown away by the response from our customers. I don't know why I'm blown away, because EasyEquities was built out of a survey that we did 2 years ago, and we asked our customers what was missing. And we thought crypto was going to be the number one thing, and they came back and said, we would love access to residential property. And it's interesting, I'd never seen the friction point. And, I understand why I hadn't. I live in Melrose, I own a house, and I live close to where I work, but our customers don't. And what Easy Properties was engineered to do is to allow people to get, some skin in the game in properties, aspirational properties that are closer to where they want to work and live. And so we took 2 years building that product. And there's a good example of something we got right. We got it really right. Get some numbers behind it. And don't quote me on them because I'm not 100% on them just yet. But at last count, there are about 7,000 investors in those 4 properties. 2 of them are sold out. One of them is sitting at over 60% and will sell out. And then one of them sitting at 25% and doesn't look like it will sell out. And that's cool. That's fine. It's, the customer, we would have sold 3 out of 4. That's a 75% track record. We've got a new one.
The brand team now.
Huh?
Now you've pissed off the brand team and your MD of Easy Properties. Well, challenge accepted on that 4th property.
Yeah, 4th property. But,
because it's
again,
close to you, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. No one wants to live here. But it's, the point of that is that it's giving the customers choice. So we put up products, they're quite diverse in what they offer, and customers are choosing the ones that they like the most. Rupert's convinced he's going to sell all of them, and he's probably right. And we've got some exciting other properties. We looked at, I think it's called the Blide. I'd never heard of it before, but it's this beautiful lake. It's a development, and at the center of this development is what they call Crystal Lagoons, which is it's been copyrighted and patented. This company in South Africa is now using it to create beautiful blue lagoons, and it looks like something out of the Maldives, and it's in Pretoria. So that's something we're going to list pretty soon. So it's doing really well. I mean, it's not a month old yet. When it is a month old, I'll run some data, but I'll say this: I reckon it'll be the fastest growing, first month ever for a fintech in South Africa. I don't think there's a fintech that's launched. Certainly EasyEquities. I mean, we got our 10,000th customer arrived in the 12th month of operation. Their Easy Properties 10,000 customers, they're going to land this month. So in what we took a year to do, Easy Properties done in 1 month. And that's the power of what we're creating, is when we get things right, like we did with Easy Properties, we create this groundswell behind us, and it's very empowering, and our customers must expect more from us in that regard. So Easy Property has been a great success, great team, great UX. I mean, Elmira is head of UX. I hate to give him credit because him and I fight a lot, but probably his best work, and he'll take it as a challenge. There's some cool stuff happening on Easy soon. So there's a new mobile app, which I know everyone has been waiting for, and I think people are going to be blown away by his UX on that. So yeah, there's so much to look forward to. Australia, Australia launched to South Africans 2 weeks ago. So just reflect on that quickly. In the last 3 weeks, we launched Australia, we launched Easy Properties, and we launched Securities lending. We got 2 right, we got 1 wrong. Maybe the criticism is we try to do too much in 3 weeks, but that's how we roll. And we've got some cool stuff. I mean, we're launching Australia to Aussies in a couple of weeks. That's exciting. That's exciting for shareholders because I think we're going to prove that South Africa we're as good as anywhere else in the world. And I'm looking forward to competing, taking South Africa onto the international stage and competing directly. I mean, we've got the World Cup. Aussies haven't beaten us as much for a long time, so I look forward to competing. I've seen some of the brand stuff, which I think is pretty cheeky. I think the one that I liked the most was South Africa's. There's a picture of Jacques Callis and it says South Africa's second best all-rounder. Welcome, South Africa's best all-rounder, EasyEquities. I love that. So yeah, there's it's been a lack of 3 weeks, and Easy Properties is a very good example of what, when we get things right, what happens.
So in our last 10 minutes, I want to explore some of the negative stuff I spoke about. I want to touch on the questions that we haven't answered, and then give you the closing word, Charles. So with all the stuff that EasyEquities is launching, can the platform cope? Are we investing money, resources, time in the platform? Where are we with that?
Yeah, we shifted all our resources into pushing the scalability of the platform. That's been, that project was initiated end of March when things just, COVID took over and our growth rates went crazy. I mean, for those who haven't heard the numbers, but pre-COVID, we were onboarding about 10,000 customers a month. In COVID, we were onboarding 60,000 customers a month. Those are big numbers. I mean, and I'll just put some context to that. I was listening to Gerry, the CEO of Capitec, and he was talking about COVID, and they were opening 800 accounts a day in COVID. We were opening 2,000 accounts a day. So, we were up in the big league during that period. What that created is a lot of stress on our platforms, which I've dealt with openly, and I'm not, we budget for 100% growth. So our IT platforms are always ahead of us by 100%. but they're not ready for 300% growth. So, we've had to, our team, led by Paul, have done just an extraordinary job at getting it to scale. I can say now that we're almost there. There are one or two things we're still changing. This weekend was a big change. We moved our database architecture to SQL Enterprise, which has given us more scale and capability, and there's some kinks in that. There always are. So there are a few more things that we need to do, but we're ready for the future growth, and that future growth that we're hell of excited about is Capitec. Capitec is going to turn on sometime in August, and when they do, 6 million South Africans are going to have EasyEquities at their fingertips inside their banking app. And we're ready for that. We're scaled and ready. We've still got a few more things to iron out, but the team are on it, and they're coping fine. It hasn't been easy for them, and it's been a great test of our team in terms of collaborating in a virtual world, managing service providers, getting everyone aligned, all from home. And what it's given me confidence to do, because whether you're working from home in South Africa or home in Australia or home in Bolivia, as a business, we've proven to ourselves that we can run and scale a group sitting at home. And that gives me the confidence to go and take on the world now, because we can do it from anywhere. So, we're ready.
Thanks. I want to just answer a few of these questions, Charles, and then I'm going to ask you to close off by telling us what you're most nervous about in the next couple of months and what you're most excited about. I'm going to start with some of the securities lending questions and repeat that Charles is very much driving a project with a number of us in the business to make sure that we get way better at getting input from our clients. But I will touch on some of these questions. So there's a question from Derek around the discrepancy around the fees that will be paid. And Derek, that was because the way that it was being explained was too complicated and people misunderstood it. And so we will absolutely be clear about what the provider's getting, what Easy's getting, and what the client's getting. And there's been a lot of work done yesterday already by a number of our team on the FAQs, and we'll make sure that that's done properly.
Yeah, and Carel, maybe just let me step in there. I mean, if I just, in a very simple way, if 100 Rand is earned from securities lending, 20 Rand is retained by the partner, the institutional partner, being Zarklia. 48 Rand is paid to the customer, and 30 for their script, and then 32 Rand is retained by EasyEquities for providing the platform and the access, etc. So that's, add those all up, it comes to 100. And the confusion which we created 100% was what we were doing was reporting on the percentages of the percents that we get, so the 80% that we get, and we just confused ourselves with the numbers. But simple, out of that 100 Rand, it's simple: 20, 48, 32. Customer gets the lion's share at 48%, and the balance shared between EasyEquities and the partner.
Great, thank you very much. And then just to say thank you very much to the questions and comments from people who, Charles, I don't think you've seen that, but you guys are doing amazing. There will probably be a lot of people to still attack you, but in the midst of a lot of us are genuinely appreciate you. We really do, like really. Sifilele, you handled the matter beautifully, appreciate you. And I just want to say thank you very much to those users. We appreciate your appreciation, and it gives us even more motivation to fix our mistakes and do better. So thank you. Charles, Africa continent. Brian wants to know about Africa continent. Why are we in Australia? Why not the rest of Africa? Are we going to America? What next?
Yeah, what a great question. I mean, Africa is South Africa's opportunity. And that, I'm not saying that arrogantly as South Africans. We've got a lot to learn from the continent. In fact, Kenya, for me, they're the fintech leaders. They're the guys I look up to in Africa. They've done incredible things there. So that's the first place we're going to go. We're very close to a deal in Kenya and entering East Africa in partnership with a Kenyan bank or telco. We're actually in negotiations with both. So that's pretty cool. And that will be our test bed. We'll go and compete in the best place in Africa for fintech and go and see if we can build a meaningful and sustainable business built on purpose and the people in that region. And that, I'm hoping we'll get that live early next year. And then from that, we'll learn a lot more about East Africa and start to target the rest of East Africa. And then certainly start looking, on the success of that, start looking at other countries in Africa and seeing what we can do. But Africa is our opportunity. Is Africa ready for us? and are we ready for Africa? Not entirely. And I say that because for EasyEquities to thrive, the ecosystem that we rely on has to be cheap. So, what I'm talking about there is smartphone penetration must be very high. We don't build services for dumb phones. We don't have USD services. So, we've backed ourselves into a world that says 2-3 years from now, everyone's going to have a smartphone. And so we build smartphone applications. So not everywhere in Africa is there yet, but they're getting there fast. I mean, the first $10 smartphone is now in the market, an Indian smartphone, so that's coming. The second thing is cheap data. There's no point having a fancy phone, but you can't access the services online. And, in this respect, Africa has led the way. Some of the cheapest data in the world is in Africa, not in South Africa. And so places like Kenya, it's really cheap data. So for us, those two, and then, the final point is money must move freely through the economy, must be frictionless, because we're not a bank. So we can't make it easier for you to move money. And so if those three ingredients are present in a market, then we're engaged, we're interested, we want to go there. And Kenya ticks all those boxes. High smartphone penetration, money moves probably the easiest of any country in the world, and data is cheap. So we're going there. But you can't tick those ingredients off for all African countries just yet. So we'll keep watching the African countries that tick those boxes and take our business there. And then why Australia? Australia, there are a couple of reasons. Australia looks very similar to South Africa 5 years ago in that stockbroking is owned by the bank. 70% of all stockbroking accounts sit with one bank. And that was similar to the South African landscape pre-EasyEquities. And the banks, we think the banks have got lazy and aren't as focused on a fintech enabler like us. So we think we can go in there and disrupt. So there's an opportunity for us, is the point. The second reason is that Australia is in the Asian time zone. And we want to take the business to emerging markets in Asia, but we needed a beachhead for that. And Australia gave us a good beachhead to be able to target the rest of Asia. We can't. It's almost impossible to target Asia from South Africa. The time zone is just so unfriendly, and you're going to start expecting your staff to work 24 hours a day, and that's not viable. So Australia was just around. We saw an opportunity, and we wanted to create a beachhead through which we would be able to target the Asian markets, while the South African business will end up targeting European markets, African markets, and any ones that are in our time zone.
Great, thanks. Charles, I want to quickly touch on, we've had some good questions from one of our users, sounds like Savage, but in fact is called Ravage. Just a brief one about what we've got available in USD. We don't have all the shares and ETFs because the universe is just far too big, but we do have an ability for users to request shares and ETFs, new ones, and we do add those. And we'll make sure that our brand team, who I know are listening attentively, will promote further how users can get that done. And then I think the other lesson that we learned yesterday is some people have opted out of comms. What comms can and can't you opt out of? And we'll make sure that we up our game there as well.
Yeah.
So Charles, in conclusion, you're a financial advisor as well. And that's one of your day jobs, which I don't think you get too much. And whilst this is not advice, what are you investing in at the moment? Do you think?
I think it's a good question, because it's one that I've been thinking about quite a lot over the last COVID months. In fact, I spend more time thinking about my portfolio than I have for a while. And I think for me, it really is all about investing in the digital disruptors. Some of them are obvious. Amazon, Alibaba come to mind first, Apple. And for me, those businesses, whilst they were leading the pack, what COVID has done is put a moat around them that is unassailable in my view. I just cannot see how competitors can attack them now. They've just got so far ahead. And it's going to be very, very difficult. It's going to take a long time for people to disrupt them. So I'm investing very heavily in the digital disruptors, and I've got a portfolio that includes all of those. Tesla's one I missed, and I've got bad FOMO about it, because why didn't I invest in a South African Voiki building, cars? And I'm looking at it closely and wondering whether I shouldn't buy some of that. But at the same time, also looking at some of the smaller startups that are, especially in the US space, that are COVID ready, if you like, that have built businesses that will benefit greatly from COVID. And there's some good examples of businesses there. I mean, the pharmaceutical industry is an interesting one. You know, that's going to benefit hugely from a COVID. But then guys like this Zoom call, I mean, Zoom has been, bought some of that, and there's some cool Zoom competitors that I'm also buying. But my portfolio construction is really actually quite simple. It's 50% ETFs, and there it's 50% South Africa and 50% international ETFs. So I've got that balance. And then I fall in love with 10 stocks, and I've named some of them, but Uber's one, and it hasn't made me a cent. But I then fall in love with 10 stocks until I fall out of love with them. I sort of keep them on. So digital disruptors for me, 50% of my money is sitting in those, trying to identify the new ones and investing more in the market leaders, and then 50% in ETFs, which is split local and international.
Right, thanks for that. I mean, I've personally found it very useful to engage with other EasyEquities users and get some tips. I mean, our Fin Me Up guys are the ones that got me into Tesla, because I thought it's a fad, and they got me into that, luckily, because I would never have done it. So it's interesting what you learn from the community as well. So thanks for sharing that. So in conclusion, Charles, thank you very much. And to everybody who's tuned in, our team and clients, a massive thank you to you. On a personal note, as somebody who normally my day titles that I head up the brand, but as I say, that's easy because all of you are the people who build the brand and change the brand and influence the brand. But I do want to end off on a personal note, because this business is personal. Democratizing share ownership for everybody is personal to all of us. Working with Charles Savage is difficult. It is frustrating. It is infuriating. And it has been since he came up with the idea of EasyEquities. And all of that is made worthwhile, because for 7 out of the 10 ideas that he has that are useless and 2 that are just okay, the one is so brilliant that it really makes a big difference in the lives of our investors. So Charles, thank you from me for backing your team, for owning up to our mistakes, for coming back even stronger with our community. And I have absolutely no doubt that I talk on behalf of every single team member that we are raring to go and to make sure that today is going to be way better than yesterday, and that we add value to all our clients. So on behalf of all of us, thanks to you. Thank you, Easy Community. This is an absolute revolution. 500,000 of us. We're just getting started. We apologize again for our poor handling of the securities lending implementation, and we commit to you to do way better in the future. Happy investing today, and thanks also to Llewellyn, who hosts our webinars. Today is his birthday, and he did this on the last minute, so happy birthday, Llewellyn.
And Carel, can I just sign off on that? Firstly, thanks for that. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm super emotional. And yeah, I just want to say thanks to the community. The whole team. It was a tough day yesterday, but we'll be back. And yeah, this thing is, we take this seriously because we care. That's the bottom line. So when we get it wrong, take it on the chin, but know that our intentions are 100% true. And yeah, thanks for all of the engagement, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But more importantly, thanks to my team for trusting in all of this and staying the course. So very lacquer, really enjoyed this chat. We should do it more often. We've got lots of cool data insights I'd love to share more often. Very lacquer, thank you.
Let's just do this because we can at EasyEquities. Let's get some users. We'll engage with you, but I think it'll be great if we get a user to do the hosting with you, Charles, rather than me. We'll come up with a little, I think Stanwa, Bonolo, Lesedi, Jono, Barry, the brand team can come up with a couple of ideas about how we can get a user to come and ask you some questions, Charles. So let's commit to doing that in August. And it's Women's Month, so let's get a woman user to do that.
Yeah, let's get all the women on. That's cool.
Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of the day. Cheers.